New South Wales and South Australia have both moved now to ease restrictions for border towns with Victoria after growing backlash. Let's bring in our political reporter, Trudy McIntosh. Trudy, the Prime Minister has been involved. He's been brokering these changes behind the scenes, we understand.
Yeah, Ash, Scott Morrison had been making phone calls to Gladys Berejiklian and Stephen Marshall regarding the pretty tough restrictions that are in place along those borders with Victoria. It comes after weeks of backlash from border communities about the continual tightening of restrictions that are making life there incredibly difficult for them. Today, the South Australian Premier revealing he is having a back down of sorts on that from Thursday at midnight they will be making changes and reinstating that 40-kilometre border zone buffer.
School students will be able to return to school in South Australia. Businesses will be able to resume exactly and precisely as they were. Now, there's one caveat on this, and that is that we don't have further community transmission in that western part of Victoria between now and midnight on Thursday night. But the information that's been provided to us by the Victorian authorities has given the Transition Committee the confidence to put that 40-kilometre buffer either side of the border back in place.
The South Australian Premier also flagging that he is considering within the next 2 weeks or so easing some of the tough travel restrictions for New South Wales and Canberra, saying that they're going to be closely looking at those numbers and they could move to remove that 14-day mandatory quarantine which is currently in place.
We're going to continue to look at this very closely. We are not announcing today that border will be removed. But what we are saying is that we're looking very closely at this, and if we continue to see very low levels like we've been seeing, it's quite possible that we will remove that requirement for 14 days self-isolation within the next 2 weeks.
And also after pressure from the federal government about the need for New South Wales to also give more relief really for those border towns that are on the border with Victoria. This change announced by the Deputy Premier John Barilaro today. In a tweet he said, quote, over the next 10 days the New South Wales government will look to extend the border zone from 2.5 kilometres back to the original 50, with also a couple of additional adjustments to give more freedom to those on both sides of the border to work and function as a community. Ash, he's also flagged that they could be allowing agriculture workers now to go within 100 kilometres of the other side of the border to try and ease some of those roadblocks and headaches that we had been hearing from farmers.